For my cross-gender activity, I decided to go up to Vacaville to ride ATVs with my nephew and his friend. ATVs, or all-terrain vehicles, have been around since the early 1960s. The first ATVs were originally used just as transportation and recreation, and were not very stable or powerful. This is what ATVs used to look like. The ATVs that we are most familiar with today were originally introduced in the early 1980s. The size and strength of the ATV lent itself to become a useful tool for farming, ranching, forestry, construction, and hunting. That's me. Hello! These models are large, heavy, and designed for hauling and dirty work. Smaller, lighter ATVs like this one have been developed specifically for racing. These are easier to maneuver and are the most useful for sport. The most common use for these all-terrain vehicles was for farming, ranching, hunting, and small-scale forestry. This man is using his ATV to herd his sheep. Why don't women participate? These arenas are typically male-dominated activities. Take farming, for example. In 1978, women were 5% of principal farm operators compared with 14% in 2007. Female participation in these arenas is growing, but still minimal compared to men. The fact that historically more males participate in activities that require ATVs lends itself to the fact that therefore more males ride ATVs than females. Even though ATVs, motorcycles, and the like are used for leisure and recreation, these sports continue to be dominated by males. Women's past involvement in motorsports. Women's earliest involvement in motorcycling was most notably as biker chicks in motorcycle gangs. These women played a subordinate and usually subservient role to male bikers in the gang. These biker chicks were most often sexual deviants, property to be used for sexual and servant purposes, traded, and given or thrown away at the biker's discretion. Current issues that women face in motorsports. While the motorcycle and motorsports culture has grown, because of traditional gender roles and this early biker chick history, there remains a stigma about women who ride. There became a shift of women towards motorsports activities in the 1970s, when feminism began to highlight equality, male dominance, and sexism. While more women are joining the realm of motorsports, including motorcycling, ATV riding, and race car driving, they still make up a small fraction of riders, and there remains a stereotype that women are inferior participants to men. Motorsports still commonly highlight women's bodies as inferior and/or requiring special needs to function at the same level as men. Why is ATVing a male sport? Historically, males have been seen as better built for sport or activities that require strength, stamina, or physical exertion. Biologically, men have broader shoulders, narrower hips, and more muscular bodies, rendering them ideally more physically capable than women. Also, considering the ATV's historical role in agriculture and its predominant use by males, this adheres to the ideal of the division of labor between the male, breadwinner, and the female, child rearer. What is the female role in the sport? Little information is available pertaining specifically to women's participation in ATV riding as sport. Most information about women's involvement in motorsports concerns motorcycling or race car driving. Historically, women have been viewed as inferior gender, too weak and small to participate in physical recreational activities at the same caliber as men. Because of their size and stature, women were assumed to be physically and biologically incapable of participating in physical activity and sport. Women's current involvement in motorsports. Today, although more women are becoming involved in motorsports, it still remains a male-dominated arena. Women who participate in these sports are viewed as an anomaly because women are not expected to participate in physically demanding activities. Physical activities connoted vigor, while the ideal woman was supposed to be delicate. Women were expected to adhere to the Victorian standards of femininity, and in a way they still are. There are also continue to be stereotypes that depict women who participate in these activities as social outlaws, gender traitors, or sexual deviants. My initial goal for this activity was to ride a dirt bike, but when we got to the farm we realized the dirt bikes were broken. We ended up riding the ATVs instead, which was another male-gendered activity that I'd never done before. I got a chance to ride all 3 of the different ATVs on the property. One thing I realized off the bat was that it required a lot of upper body strength to maneuver the ATVs, especially this one. My struggling made me think of women's perceived inferiority to men when it comes to physical strength and ability. I wasn't strong enough to maneuver the machine at first, which hurt my pride because I felt like I was perpetuating a stereotype about female inferiority. I found that the smaller one was much more easy to maneuver because it was an ATV designed for racing. My main concern for this project was that ATVing can be very dangerous. A study found that for non-traffic ATV crashes, rollovers accounted for 55.2% of the deaths, and 36.2% of the fatalities were due to the compression from the ATV itself. It was exhilarating and empowering to be in control of a powerful machine, even though it's a dangerous sport. I thought about how Henderson stated that women had always been portrayed as needing protection, and yet, by participating in certain activities, some women were demanding that this perception be changed. The only reason I hadn't ever ridden an ATV before was just because I didn't have easy access to one. It's always been a goal of mine to ride a dirt bike or an ATV, I just hadn't made it a priority before now. I was aware that the activity included some risks, but I was also aware of how, for women, motorbike riding is synonymous with freedom, escape, and individuality. I found the danger aspect to be the most thrilling and exhilarating part, and I really enjoyed the adrenaline rush. I had a lot of fun doing this project. I'll definitely be going again soon, and my nephew said next time I'm gonna get to ride the dirt bike.